Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our talk on fibromyalgia. We realize this is such a critical issue for many people, and we want to talk about the symptoms, the causes, and the natural support strategies available. We realize that this might raise some questions, and Dr. Justine has made herself available. You can text questions to 647-987-9355, and she'll be happy to answer them. Dr. Justine and Dr. Udani are here with me today, and I wanted to introduce you. So Dr. Justine is an amazing athlete. She's a mother, a spouse, a motivational speaker, an author, and an incredible leader of a healthcare team. She really wants to give you the best care to be the best version of yourself. And Dr. Udani, who is our naturopathic doctor here at Justine Blaney Wellness Center, is here with us today, and she is extremely passionate. Women's health, digestive issues, chronic pain that so many of us are in, and as well stress and how that impacts our body. She really genuinely believes that everyone has the ability to make healthy and long-lasting changes. Please help me welcome Dr. Justine and Dr. Udani.
So we do have some upcoming webinars and amazing new series starting, and we're going to be keeping these up all the way into 2021 through March. But coming up in December, I know it's Christmas time, and I know so many people who hurt themselves wrapping presents. So we're going to go over the do's and the don'ts, how to protect your back. We're going to be talking about healthy foods to stay away from and the healthy foods to add. And we're going to be talking about EMF exposure, how that, with the 5G, the 4G, and how to just protect yourself a little bit from toxicity in a different way, the things that you cannot see coming up. So after that, we have our information on weight loss in the new year. We're going to have information on heart health in the new year, so spiritual health in the new year. So please stay tuned and share this information with others. As we get into fibromyalgia, this is something that is so difficult. Chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, chronic pain, so difficult. So a lot of this information comes from Dr. Jocker's articles. Check out his great websites so that you can get more information. And certainly he does a lot of great work to help people be able to have different broadcasts to learn more. But fibromyalgia is super, super important because it is so painful. Typically you have pain all over and on both sides of the body and above and below the waist. And you have these 11 out of 18 tender points affecting your health. We see that it affects sleep. We see it can cause restlessness, fatigue levels, daze levels, tension and listlessness, and also sometimes, jitters. It can affect anxiety and depression because the pain doesn't go away. It affects achiness in the muscles, these trigger points or tender points all over, and it just feels like it's traveling and it's moving and you can never catch up with it. So the things about fibromyalgia is that the care that you start off with has to constantly keep changing. It's not the same thing over and over and over again. And you always need a team approach. There is no one therapist who can do it all for fibromyalgia. There's no one naturopath, acupuncturist, chiropractor. The best approach is to look at a multiple prong approach, a full team approach, in order to get the best results with fibromyalgia. This isn't something that we fix or we cure. It's something that we help you manage with better. And we find many patients can get so that they have very, very few symptoms. They're able to get through life with that maximized energy and full potential in a natural way. And yes, they might have a few ups and downs, but those downs are not as down, if you know what I mean. There's more balance throughout, better ability to cope. And that is our goal today. So some of the major symptoms that you're going to be seeing is how it affects your nervous system, your central nervous system, and how your brain sends messages through all those muscles, nerves, joints, and organs. It can affect the jaw and jaw pain. It can affect achiness or crawling things on your skin, hot and cold on your skin. It can affect digestion. It can affect not just eye pain or eye strain, but even focus, It can affect the breathing and the heart rate and chest pain, feeling like things are caving in, almost feels like you're having a heart attack. It can affect muscle spasms, even affect the ability going to the bathroom. So when someone has fibromyalgia, it can literally affect all the different systems in the body.
Mhm. And I think that's Justine, that's why fibromyalgia is such a hard, and it's so hard on people's lives, and it really reduces your quality of life, because living with so much pain and so many of these symptoms can be really hard. And if you go a little bit deeper into why someone might be feeling this way, is like you mentioned, is the nervous system. The nervous system is kind of going on a little bit of an overdrive. So there's an increased sensitization of the nervous system in patients that have fibromyalgia. So what do I mean by that? So let's say if you or I, we prick our finger and we'll feel a little bit of pain, but after a while that pain goes away. But with the patient that have fibromyalgia, their pain threshold is so much lower. So everything can give such a high response to pain. So they have this constant signaling in the nervous system, telling their brain that there's pain everywhere, for even the smallest little stimulus. So this really causes a really bad effect on their body, because now the whole body's going into this stress response, that it's going to this fight or flight response. And this is our HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic pituitary axis. This is all in the brain. These are really important glands that control our stress response. So when this message system is messed up per se, it sends really bad high signals of cortisol into our bodies, and cortisol is that stress hormone. So a lot of patients with fibromyalgia have this ongoing really high fight or flight stress response, really low pain threshold. So there's constant, they feel they're on pain all the time. And this is really a cycle of dysfunction. It can almost feel like it's never ending. And usually what triggers this is some kind of event that was super stressful. So this can be a chemical exposure kind of event. This could be a physical trauma, so like an accident. This can even be an emotional traumatic event, like, for example, you're going through a really, really difficult, stressful time in your life, or a death of a family member, or even experiencing abuse, for example. This really triggers and sends the nervous system down in this downward spiral, and you get all these things affecting your sleep, affecting your energy, affecting your sensation of pain. So this is a cycle of dysfunction. That's why, a team approach is really important when you're thinking about fibromyalgia and ways to help with it. So how does in our gut have a role with this? So our gut bacteria, especially when it's imbalanced, it can actually increase this stress response in the body, and it can actually release these things called endotoxins, or these are toxic byproducts that bacteria releases. And they can also, release things that can control help the nervous system calm down. But if you don't have those good bacteria, what happens is you have less of these neurotransmitters. So the gut and the nervous system have a really strong connection. So if your gut is out of balance, your nervous system tends to get mixed messages, or it has a higher inflammation. And we've seen there's patients that have fibromyalgia tends to have more of those bad bacteria, or higher rates of this overgrowth in their guts that can be one of the causes of their symptoms. Another possible cause is an exposure to mold. So a lot of people might not think of this, especially living here, but there can be mold really growing anywhere that's exposed to humidity. So really in basements, in older homes, or homes that were water damaged, you tend to mold spores tend to grow. So some of the most common symptoms of mold toxicity is it tends to usually stay in the sinuses. So you might notice, sinus trouble, difficulty with breathing, or you get a cough. You might get the headache, like the sinus headache right around over here. You might have some red eyes. And then over time, if you're continuously exposed to this, what happens is the mold gets more and more internalized. So it can lead to, joint pains. It can lead to issues with your brain, like brain fog, memory issues. So this is why these are some signs and symptoms to look at mold, because mold can be a huge part of the progression of fibromyalgia, and let's go deeper into that as well. So mold is something called a biotoxin. So another toxin, similar if you've heard of Lyme disease, for example. So that is really caused because of toxins released by this bacteria that's carried on a tick. So that's why if you get a tick bite, definitely go get that checked out with the doctor, just to make sure that you were not infected with this bacteria. So some other things that carry these biotoxins are viruses, and of course the bacterial endotoxin. So what all this means is there are these living organisms that are out there that are releasing these toxins, and if our bodies are not able to clear it out, it tends to have these long-term health consequences. And another huge component is, having those mineral deficiencies. So if you're deficient in zinc, for example, in magnesium, in calcium, you tend to actually have more of those heavy metals deposited, because heavy metals compete with these minerals for a place in our bodies. So if you're already low on zinc, for example, then the more chances is that you have more of these heavy metals in you. So what are some symptoms of zinc deficiency? So really those spots on the nails, the white spots, can be indication of a deficiency. You can notice rashes on the skin. You can notice even a lowered immune response. So let's say you're getting sick more often. You can have hair losses. Because zinc is just everywhere. It's an amazing mineral that your body uses for so many of the body's reactions. So that's why it's really important to get, and this actually, so our body doesn't have a way to store zinc in the body. So that's why you need to make sure you get a consistent amount every day, because there's really no way for it to be stored. So another big thing with fibromyalgia is this thing about mitochondrial dysfunction. So mitochondria is the little organelles in each of our cells that produce all the energy that we use. So in fibromyalgia, what they found is there's a lot of stress on these mitochondria. There's so much inflammation going around. The mitochondria is so stressed out. It's not producing the same amount of energy that we need. And that's why, you notice those muscle pains, the fatigue that a lot of patients have, sleep disturbances. And it's a huge part of why fibromyalgia can be so bad, because it's really affecting that cellular level. So something that a lot of patients might be looking into is adding ways to reduce that inflammation. And for example, glutathione is the body's most powerful antioxidant. It's produced in the liver, and it is used in all through the body. So it's amazing for helping the liver detoxify. It's great to controlling your insulin sensitivity. So let's say you're pre-diabetic or have high blood sugar, glutathione support might be indicated. And it's really good for just really supporting the growth and health of all the cells. And what you see in patients with fibromyalgia is that you have, because they're under so much stress internally, the glutathione levels are always reduced. So that's why it's really important to create more glutathione so that it can kind of combat this inflammation, because it's such an amazing antioxidant. Another important sign or important vitamin is vitamin D for people that experience this fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome, because vitamin D is actually one of those vitamins that is deficient in over 1 billion people in the world. So what are some signs that you might need more vitamin D? So you tend to get more sick often. You might be experiencing a low energy. You might be experiencing stress fractures, because vitamin D is important for absorbing calcium. So joint pain could be one of the signs. You can even notice, just tiredness with working out and exercise. So always getting that baseline level to see how your vitamin D levels are doing before supplementing is really important. And you can just see how it is so used in so many parts of the body. Another process is called the methylation process. So I'm going to try to explain it a little bit easier. Basically, methylation is what our bodies do to a lot of the nutrients so that it is in its more active form, and it's easier for our bodies to digest. So, for example, B vitamins, if you take it in their methyl form, it's easier for our body to digest and for it to be active. So this is why it's important to talk to a specialist, talk to a naturopath, so that you know what, if you're having trouble with these kind of processes, what's the right supplement that you might be needing. And of course, you know, like we mentioned, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, there's so much inflammation going on that we really need to fix it. We need to reduce as much inflammation as possible. So one of the best things is changing your diet, you know, having those top anti-inflammatory foods, lots of those grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, free-range chicken for meat sources, using those healthy fats like avocado oil, olive oil is amazing, spices and herbs, just, you know, using that to flavor the dishes that you're having, and avoiding those pro-inflammatory foods as much as possible. So, you know, those highly processed grains, the foods with artificial dyes, a lot of the pops and deep fried foods, so that you're not increasing the inflammation anymore. Oh, sorry, Dr. Justine. I just realized.
That's okay. That's okay. The nervous system does control every function, so it does affect the fibromyalgia can affect the central nervous system, and we want to try and create that balance. And it is very difficult. Like Dr. Udani said, I've seen many patients who've been emotionally traumatized or dealt with a very severe car accident and ended up with fibromyalgia that can affect them for life. So it is something that they do need to work towards, that sympathetic parasympathetic balance, that area where you have the gas pedal pushing and pushing and pushing the body to a fight or flight response, where the parasympathetic is saying, hold on, like, I'm tired, I need a rest, in order to get the best response. So we can't be, as Dr. Lipton said, growing and trying to protect at the same time, sort of having the gas pedal on and the brake pedal on at the same time. All we do is rev, and we're not getting anywhere. So the goal of having this team of healthcare is to be able to help the body know when to be pushing and when to be relaxing, the body to know how to create this central nervous system balance. So there are some natural strategies that we want to review, 16 of them for fibromyalgia, changing to a healthier diet, as Dr. Udani said. And we have numerous calls and numerous videos on an anti-inflammatory diet. Dr. Udani and our naturopaths do food sensitivity testing, as well as biofeedback with Rodney to look at food sensitivities. Lots of times these aren't foods that make you sick, but they increase pain and we don't even realize why, or increases muscle cramping. So with Rodney or Dr. Udani to check those food sensitivities, super important. Intermittent fasting, we have numerous talks and on intermittent fasting in different ways it can be helpful. Reducing our stress, improving our sleep, improving our pathways of energy throughout our body, improving our magnesium and vitamin B foods, improving our breathing exercises, improving our brain-body connection with chiropractic, getting the right herbs, grounding, getting the right essential oils, helping our mitochondria function better. As Dr. Udani already mentioned, measuring and knowing your vitamin D, what's normal and where are you at, improving our gut health and minimizing our toxins, helping our body detox. So all of these areas help with fibromyalgia. And you can see with just these 16 areas, it's not a one-pronged approach. In order to manage chronic pain, we need a full team approach. We need to look at the mind, the body, the diet. We need to put all of that together in order to get the best response for care. So what chiropractors do is we are experts in finding and removing those areas of subluxation. That's areas that literally twist or turn or put pressure. That pinched nerve idea is to find and remove those areas of subluxation so your central nervous system, your brain, can send messages better to all those muscles, nerves, and joints. So we want to reduce stress on the body. That's how we help people with fibromyalgia.
Yes, and I think I agree, Dr. Justine. Like there's so many, you have to attack it in different ways. Like painkillers won't help, it's maybe help for a little bit, but then you'll get used to it. There's tolerance that builds. So in conventional medicine, there's really not a lot you can do for fibromyalgia. So that's why it's really important to have that integrative therapeutic team focus on doing this. So another thing is changing your diet. So, going more of the ketogenic pathway can help increase your number of mitochondria. And, because ketones are more of an efficient fuel compared to glucose, like glucose can lead to, it's not very efficient. The mitochondria ends up working a lot to process glucose compared to using ketones. So if your mitochondria is already stressed out, using ketones is better to produce energy compared to glucose. So going in more of that ketogenic ketosis can be a great way, and change your diet because of that. And we talked a lot about ketogenic diet, and there's a lot of talks that are up on the website that you can definitely take a look at that. And then food sensitivities versus food allergies. So testing for food sensitivities. So this is something like the IgG food test that I can order just to see. So there's a huge list of foods that are tested against your blood to see if you have a reaction. So if you have a sensitivity to it, and it's so comprehensive, so you can see, is there some certain foods that's giving you this ongoing inflammation and ongoing reaction? So food sensitivities are different from allergies. And allergy is, let's say you have an allergy to peanuts, it's so immediate. You get those hives, you can feel difficulty breathing. And this usually comes from since you're a child. But food sensitivities tend to develop at any age, and it can be one of those ongoing things that you don't necessarily notice all that suddenly, but it's all internally happening. So that's why getting tested for food sensitivities can be a great way to start to see what kind of foods you need to eliminate from your diet for a certain period of time. Intermittent fasting. So we have talks about how to do intermittent fasting properly as well. So fasting is a great way to help your cells work better, because when we think about our cells, it's like each one of our cells are like a car, right? It produces waste and it needs to go and get serviced. So when you're fasting, what happens is all those cars that are not working properly, they tend to be flushed away, gone away, and newer cells are produced that are working better. So that's why it can be amazing for reducing inflammation. It can help with the microbiome. It can regenerate immune cells, and can help with pain as well.
We definitely thank you, Udani, as we get into the first three, now getting into number 4 out of 16. Again, thinking about that multi-prong approach for fibromyalgia is reducing stress. And one of the ways is being grateful, focusing on the good things that are happening in our homes and with our families, being a Canadian, looking at ways to reduce stress in the home. What can we give away? What can we clean up? What can we minimize to just take the environment to be less stressful, as to help reduce stress in our minds? So looking at ways, and when we give, show that compassion, that empathy, also takes the focus off ourselves to put onto someone else. So looking at ways to volunteer or give back, make a difference in the park. Maybe it's just a garbage pickup, but the more find ways to give to others and to be grateful for others and other things and for our environment, the more we can reduce our stress. We do need that great sleep, absolutely. So making sure you have a pillow that fits. So many times the pillow is, if we're sleeping on our side, it's not the width of your shoulder. So we get our arm up and we get kinked up in our sleep, or we're trying to push our head with our hand. So quality pillow, the right size for your body frame. Children need a smaller pillow than adults. We need to make sure if we're sleeping on our side, we have a pillow between our arms, pillow between our legs to support this frame. That's the way the spinal cord works. So there's less stress on the spinal cord. We want to make sure we have a good quality bed with the right springs and that's moving and you're flipping the bed. We also want to make sure you have, if you're sleeping on a back, pillow under your knees and not a pillow that pushes your head forward. That we're looking at our sheets, that we're getting sheets that breathe and blankets that breathe. We're looking at what time we go to bed. You remember that the hours before midnight count twice as much. You need a routine, the same bedtime. Typically for me, it's 10:30 to 4:30. So you need that real schedule. Some people need earplugs or a mask to allow themselves to relax, or a heating pad or cushion just to warm the body before bed, but with a cool environment. Careful with our foods, the caffeines or the just food right before bed, to avoid electronics or bright lights, blue light right before bed. But the quality of our sleep absolutely affects people with chronic pain and fibromyalgia. And if you have trouble with sleeping, you may need to look at different supplements and finding the right supplements for you, whether it's, melatonin, serotonin, essential oils. And you do want to discuss those with Dr. Udani, with the naturopath, to find the right ones for you so you're not just experimenting all over the place.
Yes, and proper sleep is so important for reducing that cellular stress overall. And one of the other really important cellular pathways for reducing stress is called the NRF2 pathway. So this pathway is actually it's a gene in your DNA that's turned on, so that newer cells are created, and it's a gene that turns on the anti-inflammatory pathways in the cells. So there are definitely a lot of natural clinical strength. So I stress clinical strength because in order for you to have a therapeutic dosage of these fruits or vegetables, you need to eat bags and bags of it. So that's why sometimes supplements work a little bit better for these kind of pathways. So things like turmeric, things like green tea extract, quercetin, which is found in onions, can activate this anti-inflammatory pathway in our bodies, but it's really important to get a clinical strength amount for it to be effective. So that's why speaking to a specialist, speaking to a naturopath, so that you're not, maybe spending your money buying supplements that might not be working, is important, so that you can see, okay, what is it what you really need for reducing that cellular stress by activating pathways like the NRF2 pathway. And of course, all those basics, like the important things like reducing stress, improving sleep, is really important for that as well. And including magnesium and B vitamin rich foods. So magnesium and B vitamins are used in the body for so many of the reactions. It's used by the nervous system. B vitamins are really important for activating nerve signaling. So if you have, let's say, a craving for chocolate, that is actually a telltale sign that you might be low in magnesium. So magnesium deficiency, if you drink a lot of coffee as well, can lead to a deficiency in magnesium. So that's why it's important to get some really good sources of magnesium from food. So things like pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, things like avocado can be a great, and I believe coffee can be a source of magnesium, but because it tends to, makes you dehydrated, it flushes most of the magnesium out of you. So I would tend to go for more of the veggies and the fruits and the dark chocolate for a source. And of course, B vitamins, making sure you supplement that as well, and getting that from grains. A lot of grains are supplemented with B vitamins in these days. So that's another great source for these important nutrients. And of course, focusing on deep breathing, like Dr. Justine mentioned before, this can be a great way to reduce stress as well, doing those deep breathing techniques, getting that oxygen into our bodies. Oxygen is really important for improving, energy. It's also, the deep breathing increases your circulation as well. And, you are also doing that, you're telling your body to reset. So instead of going on that fight or flight pathway all the time, you're balancing the nervous system by doing those deep breaths. So you're getting more of the rest and digest, more of the parasympathetic pathway that we should be more, especially during these days, when there's so much stress that's happening around us. And using antioxidant rich foods or herbs. So these are things like herbal teas, adding spices into your diet, things like ginger, for example, fennel seeds, caraway seeds, fresh herbs like parsley, thyme, rosemary. These are amazing because spices actually have the highest concentration of antioxidants. They're more antioxidants than fruits and veggies. So that's why it's really important to, I had no idea as well. So there's a scale called the ORAC scale that measures the antioxidant capacity for all the foods. And what they found was that spices and herbs have the highest. So making sure you sprinkle on those extra spices, adding those herbs into your dishes, especially now that's holiday time, Christmas time is coming up, making those amazing Christmas dishes is a great way to reduce them, adding those antioxidants. And of course, grounding. This is actually one of my favorite things to do, especially when I'm having a stressful time. Just going outdoors, making sure you have bare feet, going for a walk, in the backyard or just the front yard, because it's helping. The earth it's a center of grounding. It helps to reduce any kind of EMF stress that you might be having, especially because we're all working from home. We're in front of computers. We're seeing artificial light all the time. So grounding and going for those walks barefoot, we have that touch with the earth is really great way to release some of those bad EMFs out of us. It can improve mood, improve sleep, reducing stress, helping with pain, helping with reducing inflammation. So it's really an amazing activity to do. And of course, supplementing with omega-3. So these are the anti-inflammatory oils. So these are the fish oils, the ones that are predominantly in fatty fish, like salmon, for example. This can be really amazing for a lot of organs in the body. This can help with your brain. This can help with your heart. This can help lubricate the joint capsule. So if you have arthritis, adding some anti-inflammatory oils like EPA and DHA can be really great to reduce that inflammation. So inflammation reduction is what we're really going for here. And of course, there's tons of supplements and things to improve your mitochondrial health as well. So mitochondria, like I said, in patients with fibromyalgia, your mitochondria is stressed all the time. It's not able to release or produce the energy that you need to get that chronic pain, the muscle aches, you get the fatigue. And these are some key nutrients that you can try. I strongly suggest talking to a specialist before you do try these on, because you might not need all of these. You might just need a few. And so things like green tea extract, B vitamins, alpha lipoic acid, glucosamine, these are amazing for supporting. These are nutrients to support the mitochondrial health. And optimizing your vitamin D level. So this is why it's really important to get a baseline lab test. So naturopaths, we can order lab testing for you to see baseline. Your family doctor can as well, just to see where you're starting off, because we also don't want to give you too much as well. Too much of a good thing can be bad too. So that's why getting those lab testing done, just to see what is the therapeutic level, what is the healing amount that you need in terms of vitamin D. So another amazing thing is supporting your gut health, because when our gut is healthy, our body tends to be healthier, because we were eliminating a lot of that inflammation. We're helping with absorbing more nutrients. We're getting more energy. Can even help with weight loss as well. And when we have more of those probiotics, those are the good bacteria, we tend to be more protected against any kind of illnesses or any infections. So benefits of using probiotics is really great. And there's tons of probiotics out there, so many different strains. Some are in the fridge, some are not in the fridge, some are on the shelf. So what are the differences? We definitely we can have a meet and greet with and talk about different strains and what they do and what's the best one for you, because there's a lot of information out there, and it's really good to have a conversation just to see what is the right one for you. And of course, reducing the toxic exposure. One of the best ways to do that is making sure you're drinking enough water, just using, of course, filtered water, using a glass or aluminum, or just a BPA-free plastic water bottle, things that are reducing your toxic exposure, making sure you can add a little bit of minerals into the water in terms of Himalayan salt or things Celtic salt. Thinking of water first. So the first thing when you wake up, drinking that big glass of water, that's something I do, and it makes me feel so refreshed. Like my whole body's got like a little bit of more energy, a little bit more flushed, flushing all those toxins out. Another great way is to add some flavorings into it, natural flavorings. If drinking water is not your thing, we can kind of train your taste buds into liking it, And even lemon water can be a great way to help add in the hydration and making sure that you are getting that amazing detoxing properties of water into you. And speaking of detoxification pathways, supporting our biggest organ of detoxification, which is our liver. So making sure we are reducing the stress on the liver. So what are some things? Like alcohol can be stressful on the liver. A lot of fatty foods can be stressful. Stress and things like that can add to increasing liver damage. So things to support our liver so that our detoxification pathways or elimination pathways are working the best that they can be. So supporting that through those dietary modifications, and also, exercise is amazing for so many of our organs, and liver it's no different there as well. And then if it is a more serious concern, we can talk about adding more of the nutraceutical perspective as well.
Awesome, Dr. Udani. That's a huge list, 16 different things where we work as a team. I have found fibromyalgia patients do well with a mixture of care. They need their naturopath to get the right nutrition, to do the acupuncture to help, but then mix it with some massage and mix it with exercise in their proper alignment with their adjustments with the chiropractor. So it does require that team approach. Again, we look forward to keeping you in tune and staying with you, friends. So share with others. Here's the upcoming lists of talks about protecting your back as those present wrapping times come up, and eating the healthy foods and reducing the EMF stress on your body. Coming up in January, we will have our weight loss series, and in February, our heart health series and information about spiritual health. So stay tuned. We'd love to keep giving you this great information. We also always appreciate a review on Google, on YouTube, on whatever it is, Yelp. Please feel free to give us a review and stay tuned with us on all those social media mediums, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or Google, with our website. Stay tuned with us. We're going to keep giving and giving and giving. That's our mission, to help you have the best health naturally, to reach your full potential. So thank you, and
Thank you.
in touch soon.